Okay, looks like we're recording. This is Christopher Bonds. I'm interviewing Dustin Moss. He's the general manager at the Melting Pot in Alpharetta. Basic questions, right? The business that you're in, how would you describe the Melting Pot?
The Melting Pot, it's a restaurant. We call it casual fine dining, I would say. We serve, not only food and great wine, but, it's an experience pretty much that we provide to the guests. It's not just your normal, typical restaurant. As you know, you do all the dipping and cooking at the table. We do a lot of prep work. There's a lot of engaging with the customer or the guest. So it's a unique dining experience that we offer here.
Okay, so the product that y'all are marketing is not just food; it's the experience.
Right.
And I've heard this been called a destination restaurant before. Would you agree with that?
Destination, definitely.
Okay. Let me ask you about how the business is kind of set up. You're the general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an assistant manager?
I do. Nicholas Carriger.
Okay.
He's pretty new. He's still going through a lot of training. He's still got a lot to learn. He's been in the restaurant business for a while, but he's new to the management side of things. So he's still being, coached along. And
is he the only other member of your management team?
Not so much. The franchisees are pretty involved in the restaurant as well. Behind the door, more behind the scenes. We get together monthly, weekly, talk on the phone, conference calls, and they kind of oversee, what I do financially with the books and the financials and whatnot. But day-to-day operations, he's the only one. Yes.
Okay. Well, and that's a good segue. So this is a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
What's the structure of the franchise? I know that's kind of a vague question, but are all of the Melting Pots franchises?
There's 5 corporate stores which are in Florida.
Okay.
They're owned by Bob Johnston and Mark Johnston, which are the brothers that started the franchise. And so there's 5 corporate stores they use for testing when they want to roll out new materials, such as new menu items, new LTOs or limited time offers, feature wines, things like that we do, or any type of operational updates. They test them in different markets down there, and so pretty much those are the test stores.
Okay.
And then they go with what works, and then it's kind of rolled out to the rest of the restaurants.
Gotcha. So those 5 stores, they're part of the corporate entity, pretty much. I don't want to say set the standard, but something to that effect. They try it, and then they kind of roll down the orders through the hierarchy, and then you enact the policies that we're working at those stores.
Right.
Okay, that makes good sense. How many stores does the Melting Pot?
There's 141 nationwide right now.
Okay.
I know they're in Mexico now, as well as Canada, and they're working on a couple franchises in Saudi Arabia.
Right on. So that's 136 individual franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the owner of this restaurant that you were mentioning, my understanding is they own 4 restaurants for the Melting Pot restaurants.
Right.
Okay.
They own the 4 in the Atlanta area, so it's pretty much the perimeter. They got Duluth, which is in Gwinnett. They got this one, which is 400, Roswell, and then Kennesaw, which is up 75, and then one directly in Midtown. So they have 4 locations in the Atlanta area, and the oldest being Duluth. This is the second oldest, 14 years, and then Kennesaw, 11, and Midtown's on their 5th anniversary. So.
Right on. So they own the 4 stores in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and just so I can get kind of an idea as to how the structure goes, you have the corporate, of course,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then the individual owners. And I'm assuming that the 4 stores have a similar pattern with the management. You have the general manager, assistant manager. Are there any that have more of a management team than that?
Kennesaw is a higher volume store, so they have a kitchen manager.
Okay.
We typically like to have key hourly employees that can cover, management daily function shifts that, so some of us can take a vacation. But for the most part, it's not like most restaurants where, you have 6 or 7 different managers. A lot of restaurants that I work for, you have a GM, you have an AGM, you have a hospitality manager, you have a kitchen manager, you have a bar manager, you have, the operations manager, and it's not so much that here. What we have on our plate is a lot. We handle everything from, ordering, inventory, employee files, hiring, all the financials, all the accounting, reservations, menus, marketing. We handle all that. So it's not, people ask me, what do we do? Why do you have to get here so early? And I try to tell them, you don't just unlock the doors and the restaurant goes into function. It's not how it works. But, it's a lot to do.
All right. So if I asked you, is your job easy? What would you say?
I wouldn't say that it's easy. I understand it. I've been in the restaurant business, for going on 17 years now, and it's at times challenging, and there's always something to do, which I love about it. Every day, I can find stuff to do, whether it be, the daily operations or ordering or, maintenance or, something. Just, I can turn a corner and find something to do in a restaurant.
I don't doubt it. Now, how long have you been with the Melting Pot? You said you've been in restaurants for, almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey. Can you pause it?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to let it run.
Yeah.
I can edit it later.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Small interruption, a delivery guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I believe we were talking about you've been in the restaurant industry for a while, and then I was going to ask you, how long have you been with the Melting Pot?
Going on 11 years.
Of those, how many have you been the manager?
Almost 10.
Okay, that's solid, a decade, huh? Do you enjoy the work?
I do very much so.
All right. And you mentioned earlier you find it challenging,
Mm-hmm.
right? What aspect of the job do you find most enjoyable?
Most enjoyable? Working with people, the staff, customers, You know, I know I deal with them every day, and sometimes it becomes, you know, routine. But it's good to know that you know you've helped somebody out, or you know, provided something to somebody that they're going to remember when it comes to guests, or you know, staff-wise, you're there for them. And you know, I try to help everybody out. I was a server once, bartender, and I know what people come to work for is to make money, and that's what I try to do. And make it fun at the same time and enjoyable to the best of my ability, given, you know, what I have to work with.
We're going to jump. Who do you answer to directly?
The franchisee, which is Mark and Bob Gunn. They're kind of co-owners. It's a father and son team, but they're my immediate supervisors.
Now, do you have to answer to anyone from corporate?
Technically, no.
Okay, so when it comes down to it, any corporate liaison is really dealing with the franchise owner, the franchisee.
Right.
Okay. Now, you do rub shoulders with corporate every once in a while.
Right. I do. We do have a FBC, which is our franchise business consultant, and it's his job to protect the brand. You know, make sure that I'm the operator, and that I'm following the franchise's, you know, company policies, as well as you know, their procedures and operations and things that we're supposed to be doing that are, you know, consistent from store to store. So if somebody visits a melting pot, you know, in Florida, and then they come to Atlanta, we're not doing things totally off the wall, you know, in comparison. So.
Gotcha. So he protects the brand. The owner obviously wants to protect his direct investment. Is there ever conflict between what the owner wants and what corporate wants?
Of course. You know, this is a franchise, and it is their stores. You know, they bought the rights to the franchise and the stores. But mainly, we're all on the same page. We all want to better the brand. We try different things, and some of them don't work, and that's where the conflict comes from. You know, us pretty much giving them hell about why would we do something like that when it's worked this way so many years in the past, and you know, if it ain't broke, why fix it? That's the only thing. But I can understand change with you know, the economy going the way it is, and people's perception of value and time, and you know, having to change up stuff a little bit.
Yeah, change can be a source of conflict, that's for sure. And then I can feel that. So, you know, sometimes corporate wants you to try a different angle, and it's kind of like you're not really seeing the strategic value of why you'd move in that direction. And that's totally understandable. How many people answer to you?
It depends. If I've actually helped manage, you know, Duluth, I do a lot of accounting over there, and sometimes pick up shifts. But you know, it depends on what store I work at. I've worked at several stores on my day off, but this is my main store, and we have any given time 27 employees total.
Okay. And
so right around 25 to 30 is usually the number per each unit.
Gotcha. So, I mean, realistically, you have a lot on your plate. You do a lot of different tasks on a daily basis. On an average day, right? Not like a crazy, stressful kind of, you know,
Valentine's week or
yeah. Just normal kind of normal day. What are some of the issues that you would run into? And when I say issues, I don't necessarily mean like, you know, earth-shattering, you know, problems that are all like you have to solve. But like, what kind of stuff do you find yourself having to quote deal with on just a normal day?
You know, just a lot of it's accounting, handling guest complaints, or even talking on the phone to the guest. Maintenance, of course, always, you know, burners, light bulbs, electrical, whatever I can do in the restaurant to save money and not call somebody out to fix it.
Well, let me stop you there. The idea, you've said accounting like a bajillion times now. How much time in a day are you doing paperwork in general, but also with the accounting kind of stuff?
It depends. End of the month, I can spend, takes me about 5 to 6 hours to close out in, a whole month. Just make sure all your costs are right, your inventory's in right, your labor, all this stuff. We use a system called Data Central, which is pretty much tied into our POS, where corporate can actually read, the numbers that we're bringing in and what we're closing out at the end of the night. But, that's also what we use for employees. We can get our government forms from there. It's a great tool we use. We can run all kinds of reports, all kinds of P&Ls, different P&Ls, server analysis, you name it. But I spend a lot of time reviewing that and making sure, the numbers are right, per se. I have to go back and review what Nick's done, because a lot of times he puts stuff in, wrong. And, I have to go back and explain that to him, which takes time, and then redo it. Because, if you put, you're invoicing something and you're counting it wrong, or you're putting it in wrong, and, then you go to count it, your costs are going to be all wrong. And I try to explain that to him and show him where he messed up, and how we can not do that in the future and save a little time. And
all right, so I mean that sounds almost like a collaboration of two things right there, right? You're spending time dealing with making sure that all the numbers are in order and that the books are reading correctly, and that the restaurant's making as much as it says it is on the paper. And
hello.
So it's like on a day-to-day basis, one of the things you're dealing with is making sure that the paperwork and all the numbers are in order and all making sense. And at the same time, you're incorporating kind of a training aspect into that. It makes total sense to me. What? Actually, you know what? We're going to go back. You mentioned something about like an issue that you'd face on a day-to-day basis would be customer relations, if you will. Do you find yourself doing damage control, or is it more of just informing and following up and making sure that people had a good time? And
it's a little bit of everything. Damage control, not so much. We have a pretty good staff, and if we do get a complaint, it's usually not be. And every now and then it will be serviced, but it's usually price point. A lot of people perceive this to be an expensive restaurant, but they don't realize they're getting 4 courses for $40 a person, whereas most restaurants you go to, you're just getting an entree. These higher end restaurants at $38, $40 a person. So, in my opinion, 4 courses, cheese, salad, entree, chocolate, that's a lot of food, a lot of courses for $40, so it's a great value. And I try to explain that to a lot of the guests that do call up. There's a lot of guest interaction here, like I told you, and it starts with, taking reservations and answering the phone, explaining how the whole fondue process works, what we offer, and how to go about it, and, explaining the courses. But also, there's a lot of different questions. How many how many people can sit at one table? What's the maximum number of people for a large party? How would I go about, filling out a large party contract? Do we need reservations? What is the melting pot? What type of food do you serve? What is the price point? Do you guys have wine? Do you have live music? Do people call for numerous things?
All right. So if I can paraphrase, one of the things you're dealing with when you're picking up the phone and dealing with customers, or if they walk in and they're trying to figure out, how they're going to have a party for their 18th birthday or something like that, a lot of the quote issue that you'd be dealing with in that situation would be kind of guiding the guest through what they should expect. It's almost like you're setting the stage for that perception you're talking about. So it's almost, you could go 2 ways about it. You could be kind of timid and thinking, oh, well, this is expensive and kind of defensive, or you can set the stage and let them know that, yeah, you're going to be here for 2 hours. It's going to be an awesome meal. It's a nice social kind of thing. We got this great wine list, blah, 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 as they're checking out the environment. So you're almost...
I'm a salesman on the phone, pretty much.
Okay.
I'm trying to sell what we have to offer and
sell the concept, if you will.
And a lot of people that, they feel like it's too expensive. I try to sell them on something else, such as, the early bird special, which is 3 courses for $29. I kind of feel the customer out, or the guest, and I'm trying to get the most out of them as they're trying to get the most out of us. So it's kind of like a two-way street.
Okay.
But in that same aspect, I don't want to piss anybody off or turn away business.
I can feel that. This is the question right here. The most, okay? What stresses you out the most related to the stuff you have to deal with as a manager at the melting pot?
I would say stresses me out the most is, and it's not that it stresses me out, it's just sometimes it does stress me out. They ask a lot of me, my franchisees. And they give me deadlines and time frames that I have to meet, and they're doable because I do them, but sometimes I feel like they're, all the different things that they ask us to do.
Pushing you to the limit.
Right. Sometimes it's to the limit, because it's not only, our local events and things, plus we have the day-to-day operations, plus we have to meet what, the franchise puts in front of us. Their deadlines and time frames. And so it can be a lot at times, but, that's another reason, it can be stressful, but I also like the challenge. So the two go hand in hand with me.
Well, and that's a good segue to another question I had come up with. I'm finding it. Hang on. Here we go. What the hell is it? All right, I'm gonna wing it. when I'm assuming that you're paid salary and also a bonus structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With your performance goals, right? Deadlines, expectations. The goals that are set for food cost and profitability and this, that, and the third. Things that affect your bonus and just your regular expected performance, right? But all across-board performance management. Are you involved in the process of setting those goals, or are they pretty much dictated to you?
For the most part, we have a lot of control over, reaching those goals and setting them. Some of our bonus structure is set up pretty much by the franchisee, and it has a lot to do with different things.
Now, when you say the franchisee, you mean the actual owners?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's not just sales increase or guest increase. It's a lot of different things like that. I was telling you, we have mindshare, which is surveys. We have labor cost, all the costs that we have to factor into it. There's just numerous things, expenses, what we're spending.
So I mean, lots of these goals are attainable,
mm-hmm.
right? And I think you answered, but I'm going to kind of delve a little deeper. When you're given the number of all, like, we expect your labor to be under X% and your food cost to be under X%, do you actually get to put in your 2 cents? Like, let's say they say, we want labor to be under 13%. And, like, do you get to ever rebut and say, that's a really hard goal to meet? I'd be more comfortable if it was 13.5%?
Mm-hmm. Well, we do. We have monthly meetings where all 4 of the GMs from the Atlanta area, as well as the franchise, sit down and talk about events we want to run, promotions, new laws that are coming out, labor laws, Obamacare, things like that, where we are with the business, where we want to go, staffing, and we do have a lot input. They have the final say so when it comes to it, but we can weigh the scales, one direction as opposed to the other, and they do listen for the most part. Sometimes the answer is no, what is the question? But sometimes the answer is yes, what is the question as well. So with labor, that was an issue for a while in one of the locations, and for the most part, I feel like when it comes to labor, I do a good job of cutting back. There's some nights where I can, I'm pretty involved in the restaurant when it does open. I can bartend, host, and help out with the servers. I know every position like the back of my head, per se. So labor-wise, we're under 12%, which is really good for the most part on the average. Some crazy months like February, we ran at 8% labor cost. Just the Valentine's Day.
Right, the sales were so high.
Right. So we do pretty good. My costs are never out of whack. We run a 23 to 25% food cost. My wines are always 35 to 38, depending on how much more wine Mark took out of my restaurant. But liquor is always around 24 to 26. Beer is always around 25. So our cost of doing business is not too shabby.
Yeah. I mean, high profit items. I mean, it says it all right there.
Right.
And 8% labor. That's nuts, man.
Yeah,
that's nuts. All right, back to some of the structure here. The corporate headquarters is down in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Tampa.
In Tampa, okay. And that's where their test stores are. That's kind of their center of power, if you will. How many layers between the head honchos and the what do you call them? The
FBC?
Yeah, the FBC are there. Is it a very tall organization, or have they axed out a bunch of the middle management? So I mean, like you got the people that run the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they deal more with strategic vision and where they want the company to be moving, right? And then past that, you have the different departments, I'm sure, the marketing, this, that, and the third. But who does the FBC answer to?
The FBC answers to the president of operations, which is and the vice president of operations, which is Neil Hackley and Mike Lester. That's basically their boss. They do have an immediate supervisor, which is kind of like the head FBC.
Gotcha.
He's the guy that came out with a new menu. His name's Bob Margate. He works in the test stores. Is pretty much an area manager, and he's also an FBC. So he's pretty much like the lead FBC, and that's their immediate supervisor. But their head honcho is Mike Lester and Neil Hackley, which is the vice and president of operations.
And I'm assuming that those guys report directly to
Bob Johnson.
Okay. So, I mean, there's really not that many layers of middle management when it comes down to it.
I mean, they're continuing to grow. They've added a couple titles here and there over the past, 5 years that I've been with the company, and they introduce them at the annual reunions that we go to. But for the most part, give or take, your departments that you have, like you said, accounting, marketing,
Operations,
guest relations, people relations, that type of thing. Then it's pretty much not a whole lot of structure to it.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of structure, it's just not a lot of people in
Right. Well, I mean, the traditional organization,
right.
17 managers going down.
The branch just keeps going.
Exactly. The corporate, do they ever completely overstep their bounds, or do they have a good working relationship with the franchises? Do you think it's kind of a give and take, like the way you explained the manager meetings on y'all's level? There's they have the final word, but y'all can give your opinion and you're listened to. Do you feel that is the same sort of dynamic that goes between operations and the franchise holders?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have what's called it's a new program. It's called Fondue Guard, and it's to protect the brand, and it's to help out. It's more of a structure, black and white. There's no gray area to let us know, what we can get infractions on, and what level infraction they are. You have level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 being the least serious, level 3 being, you don't want that. But, they allow so many infractions per QC, which is quality control, where the FBC comes in, and, level 1 for, you're allowed more infractions than you would be a level 2 or a level 3. And they give you a cure time, to fix it, and if you don't fix it, then it becomes an issue, and you don't want to get numerous infractions in the same area. And there's multiple areas they look at, from office to service staff to the back of the house to the building to,
all designed to protect the brand,
right,
and keep that continuity between if I go to the store in Colorado versus Atlanta, I'm still going to be going to the same. Okay.
So there is black and white, and there's a lot of communication that goes on. We use a daily tool, which is the Source, where everybody can get on and, write comments about new things. It's a forum we use. Also, there's, all the training materials and links to anything we need from corporate.
Point blank kind of question right here. Do you think the company does a good job of marketing their product?
Marketing their product. I feel like the melting pot, since I started with the company, could do a lot better.
Yeah.
It is a franchise, and I do understand it takes a lot of money to globally market the melting pot. I think the corporate office here lately has done a lot better. We're on TV now. TV shows. We had one of our own TV shows, Be the Boss. And they're trying to get away with, not spending a whole lot of money because, it is a franchise. So
they want some of that burden to be,
yeah,
or maybe even the majority of the burden to fall on the franchise owner or the franchisees.
And here lately, Mark and Bob, the franchisees, have gotten on board. We do a lot of local marketing, tastings, charitable events, and we got billboards here the past year on 285 and 75. And we're going in magazines, and I do a lot of, grassroots marketing. I go to hotels and drop business cards and discount offers and referrals and things like that. So the local marketing is great, but it's always been, when I first started, word of mouth. I didn't even know the melting pot existed until my friend told me about it or I was driving by. But, we have a tool now. There's a lot more tools, such as Club Fondue. Once they sign up, we can send out information on upcoming events, promotions, things like that. So they're getting more involved in more marketing tools that we can use on a daily basis, and I think we're getting there. It can be a lot better, but
you're moving in the right direction, right?
Right direction, right.
Do you feel empowered in the most general of senses? Do you feel like, I'm just going to let you answer the question on that one. Do you feel empowered?
Do I feel empowered?
Yeah.
I feel like I have a job to do.
Okay.
And I like to do it.
Okay. When I'm thinking empowered, I'm kind of thinking on the level that you can solve your own problems as they arise. Mm-hmm. I know that's only a fraction of empowerment, but when you have an issue, right, do you feel like you have to, even a large issue, do you feel like you have to go to the owners or even further up to be able to solve the problem? Or can you just tackle it head on?
There's nobody I call for for assistance for the most part. There's some things that I have to, that it's not on my end that I can solve. It's on a corporate side. But when it comes to the restaurant and local day-to-day operations or anything that has to do with, a lot of times, the 4 Atlanta stores I help out with. But
So realistically, especially in the store that your home base is, you're the says-all, end-all. Mm-hmm. If you feel like the right thing to do would be to comp even a large bill for an issue that arises, fill in the blank, whatever issue. If you need to comp a $300 bill, you can do that and feel confident that your judgment is going to be respected and trusted by the owners
Right.
for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even though it might make them cringe.
Right. Well, I've done so in the past. I've done a lot of things too in my mind, and I talk to Mark and Bob, more so Bob in the past on a daily basis, and Mark. But you know, I told them they hired me to do a job, and you know, until you know you're not satisfied with what I do, I'm going to do the job to the best that I think I can do it. And to me, it's you know, obviously I've been in the company 10 years, so I feel like I'm doing something right.
So just to read between the lines here, one of the issues you faced at once upon a time that sounds like you've had resolution was that the owner was a little more trying to be more involved in the management while he's paying you to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting a little more, I don't want to say in the way, but it was from what you said, it was kind of like you're all like, let me do my job, man. You know, it's like back off. I'm the one on the ground. You know, I'm the one making the decisions. I can see that you're over there and you're concerned, but you're also paying me to do this job. So I don't know if I want to call it a power struggle, but at some point there was kind of where you had to kind of be all like, look, man, you know, like, are you gonna let me do my job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I felt like it was more hard for Bob because he used to run his store. You know, he was more involved in the day-to-day operations. He was the management team before he hired managers, before he could afford to. You know.
So it's his baby, and that letting go of the control.
Right.
You were on the other end of that, and there's kind of that until you found an equilibrium there.
Right.
It was a little trying for you.
And, you know, and I can understand that.
I can too. Yeah.
Still his restaurant when it comes down to it, and.
But I think everyone could feel your side of it too, where it's all like, dude, come on. And I mean, even in the Vegas sense, you know, if you were just listening to this, I'm pretty sure most people would be all like, no. Even without details, I can understand what you're going for. Okay, well, we'll call that an issue you've had to deal with. And just to kind of rehash on that, the resolution of that issue was pretty much almost like you had to stand up for yourself and almost draw a line and be all like, it is what it is, man. So I feel like I'm kind of sliding here. Well, how do you think that issue was resolved ultimately?
Well, you know, I told them, I sat down with both of them. You know, when they gave me a promotion from AM to GM, I told them, you know, obviously they see something in me that they like. You know, I see something. I like the company. I like the concept. I like working for them. But pretty much what I need from you, if you're, you know, we're going to continue this relationship and go forward from here. You know.
Okay.
So I appreciate the promotion, but you know, with the promotion, I want all the entitlement that goes with it. You know, I want the respect and you trust me to come into your restaurant and do the job that I'm supposed to be doing without, you know, did you do this? Did you do that? Because that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
So a face-to-face talk, it solved a lot of things.
Gotcha. And communication. There's actually a huge chunk in our textbook that talks about authority and empowerment. It's like there's three parts of the equation, and for the love of me, I can't remember right off the top. But it's like you can't have authority if you're not granted.
Right.
You know, and like they interlock, and if you take one away, then all of a sudden, if you're a manager, it's like how am I supposed to do my job if you don't give me all three of these pieces?
Yeah.
Can you make substantial changes to how the business is run?
Depends on how you
frame that, huh?
How you frame that.
Well, I mean, I feel like I already know the answer to this. I mean, some stuff your hands are going to be tied because it's a franchise.
Right.
You know, you got to have X product in here. You can't have Y product in here.
Right.
You have to follow these norms. You have to do this. You have to do this. So, I mean, and that's the classic franchise thing. You know, it frustrates the hell out of some folks I know because it's all like, I want to do this. I think it would work well for my particular market, my restaurant, my area, you know, and, you know, I feel like in certain cases like that, your hands are going to be tied because it's all like, nope.
Right.
If
well, there's a lot of things that we have to do, and there's a lot of things that they give us leeway with. For instance, they give us recommendations on staffing. They give us recommendations on, pricing. They give us recommendations on, special menus, promotions, things like that. So there's a lot of different things that we could do on a daily basis when it comes to, how we schedule the staff. Do we want to open for lunch? Do we want to...
So they give you kind of like guidelines and policies. Policies, you have to jump when they say jump. But the guidelines, that's where you get a little more leeway. They can say, we'd like you to have 6 waiters, but you could say, you know what, for my intensive needs, I'm going to go with 4.
Right.
So you have some power and some influence in that. But yeah, so I mean, as far as like super substantial, I mean, you couldn't say we're open as a burger joint for lunch, right? Okay, that's off the table.
No, we can open for lunch, but not as a burger joint.
Do you feel like you're given all the resources you need to succeed and for your store to succeed?
I do. Sometimes I think, last minute, or there's a lot of changes to something that they roll out when they, it could be 100%. Because they, like I said, they do have test stores and they have numerous amount of months and.
Well, I mean, they give you the softwares, they give you the policies, they give you recommendations. So, I mean, they give you a lot that you need to do your job, even though that you have very high expectations placed upon your shoulders.
Right.
Okay. All right, I'll ask this one. There's some I'm jumping over. If you had one major change that you could just, you had a genie and you could make one change, not even franchise-wise. I mean, I guess some of it would have to be. But what would you change in your store? It could deal with the staff. It could deal with the man. Just one major change. What would it be?
One major change. I would have to say the location.
Yeah, you'd uproot.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for the interview's sake, we're on a tiny little strip mall, and we don't have a whole lot. It's not as prime of real estate as some other restaurants. So you would uproot, put a sign on the door, say, "Come visit us down the road at this address."
Right.
Okay. Do you think you'd just for the hell of it? Do you think you would end up losing some of your regulars, or do you think it would be a seamless transition?
I think it would be seamless.
I think so too, because it's that destination restaurant. You're selling more than just a meal, this, that, and the third. And so, I mean, even if you lost a little, you gain that much more being in a more visible place with more traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
Definitely.
All right. Now, since you have started managing this particular store, the one you're home basing at right now, have the numbers improved?
They have. My first year, we were up, it was a record year for this location. In the 14 years, we were up 11% over the previous year. And this year, last year was hard, it was a bad year for us. We did a lot of paper promotions the year before, and last year we lost a lot of business due to that. But this year's a recovery year. We're getting over the paper certificate thing. We haven't ran them in about a year and a half, and first 3 months we're up 5% over last year. So.
Nothing to scoff at. What do you attribute that success to?
A lot of it is like I said, I was telling you earlier about the email system that we use for our regulars, which we have over 16,000 in that database, which is a lot.
And that's just for the 4 stores in Atlanta?
That's just for our store.
16,000?
16,000.
That's an impressive
Each
number.
store has, Duluth I think has 11, Kennesaw's 19, and Midtown has 6 of them.
So once again, just to kind of throw my 2 cents in there, you have the system where whenever you're having a special, a deal, a promotion, anything like that, inviting them to come back for whatever reason, that when you hit the button, it goes to 16,000 people.
16,000.
I could see that attributing to a growth. I really can.
And we try to use those, and we look at the numbers and the guest counts and what was the downtime the previous year, and that's when we use the tool to. We're going to run endless fondue this week because last year. This is a
historically weak sales week, so we're going to try to boost it. Okay.
That and it's just great service to me is the best tool of all. discounts. I hate giving discounts. I hate certificates. I think it just does nothing but hurt the business in the long run. You know, you're getting guests in the door, yes. You're putting a little money in the bank, but in the long run, I think it's just a lot of these people are waiting for the next certificate to come out, and that's what they do. They're bargain shoppers.
Gotcha.
They're not our traditional or regular guests. And
so the core guests are really where you're making money, not
right.
the bargain hunters and what have you.
Right.
Well, it's consistent money over the years and decades even. Although you are a general manager, do you consider yourself middle management?
Do I consider myself middle management? You know, not really. Because Mark and the franchisees. Good, you sir? Oh, not so good.
All right, so we've been talking for a while. I want to kind of rapid fire through some of the next couple questions I really want to ask. Well, let's finish what you were saying about general management. You don't consider yourself middle management.
No, I mean, like I said, it goes back to that conversation that I had with the franchisees. So, you know, they're just kind of there for support now.
Gotcha. Makes sense to me. Okay. Do you find motivating your staff to meet performance standards difficult?
Do I find it difficult? You know, with anything, a group of people, it's always a challenge to get everybody on the same page. So, you know, with different age groups, different genders, different personalities, you know, it's a different approach with each individual person. And for instance, you know, the staff was older in Duluth, so it was more, you know, old school. You know, you've worked with Bob, and say this once, and this is what you get. Where here, you know, you kind of, it's a different story.
Yeah, kind of massage it in a little. And so I mean, buy-in of, like you said, amongst a wide group of people, you know, from what, like what, 16 all the way to, you know, 55.
Mm-hmm.
You know, different races, cultures, men, women,
background.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're trying to get them to buy into something that you need to have happen, you kind of treat more on an individual kind of level,
right.
Meeting with everyone, and then maybe if someone isn't quite.
Well, my biggest thing is I lead by example. You know, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not going to do myself or haven't done, and I'll show you 100 times how to do it and why I do it, and eventually it'll catch on.
I like that. I like that style. Emotional contagion, right? You got someone that's in a pissy mood, vocal about it. Other people get in a pissy mood, right?
Mm-hmm. Cancer.
I mean, it's real though. It's a real thing. How do you deal with that? And I can only assume that it is an issue for you as a manager, you know, because for so many reasons, you know, you want your employees to be happy, you want them to be productive, you want this, that, and the third, and that negative cancer spreading, you know, that can ruin, that can lead to high turnover, that can lead to, you know, lesser buy-in of the goals you need people to, kind of that flippant I don't care attitude. How do you deal with contagion as it's happening? Like, for example, you know, you see that one person being real vocal.
Well, I don't treat my staff as they are employees, but they're also people that, you know, this is pretty much a second home to me. You know, I see my staff more than I see my family. So in essence, they're kind of like a family to me. They may not see me in that aspect, but I treat everybody here as a human being more so than an employee. You know, if you have a problem, I've always had an open door policy, and I love to sit down and talk to people individually, and, you know, I pull them aside. If I do see that there's something bothering them, you know, I'm more than willing to help out 100%. I give you the shirt off my back if I could, you know. And there's a lot of times where, you know, I might be having a bad day, or something goes on in my life personally that would affect, you know, my day, but I just put the smile on and go about it and handle, you know, and this has come with age, and it's come with trial and error, and it's I've learned that it's not going to change anything work-wise, you know, to be in a bad mood. It will change. It affects me being in a bad mood would affect everybody in the restaurant, but it's not going. I still have to come to work and get a job done. So, you know, I like to go about it the best way I can. And when I have an employee that I see is having a bad day, or, you know, I see something wrong with them, I try to talk to them personally and see where it's going, or if they need to take the night off, or there's something that I can do to help them out, or somebody else, their staff member or fellow team members can
kind of try to stop it as it starts, right. Almost, right? While still treating them with that level of respect and family. Now I was going to skip over this one, but let's say you have a shining example of, like, positivity, right? Someone that it might not even know that they're, you know, a leader, but someone that keeps it positive and also helps you with the negativity. You know, if someone's in a bad mood, someone that kind of almost circumvents for you, and it's all like, man, don't get all like that. Is there anything you do to encourage that kind of behavior?
Oh, yeah. I talk to people, like I said, you know, it comes down to just talking to people, communication. You know, complaining is, if I hear people complaining, I try to talk to them about what they're complaining about. Why, you know, why do you feel like this happened, or why did this happen, or what can we do to, you know, make it better for you? How can we go about it next time? Because, you know, we're all in this together.
Do you ever go out of your way to encourage the positive influences? You know, just even the simple thank yous. You know, let's just say one of your servers, it doesn't engage in the negativity, right? Did you ever give even like that little bit of extra feedback to make sure that they continue that?
Yeah, we have. I have talks on an ongoing basis with several, employees. Tom being one of them. The guy's always a joy to be around. Always. There's not a time, I don't think, even when he's got back problems, the older gentleman. But he's always a joy to be around.
All right.
Positive.
Positive goes a far way.
Right.
And I mean, personally, I try human every once in a while. I have my days too,
It's understandable.
It really is. It really is. Okay, flying through. You have had a major change in the restaurant recently. It was a menu change.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that there was a lot of work involved for you in that. But really where I'm going with that, was there resistance to the change with the staff? Or even with the owners?
Of course, after doing things for a long period of time, I think that was the biggest change. Like I told you, I've been in the company going on 11 years. It was the biggest change nationwide that we've ever done. And so it was hard at first to get everybody to jump on ship and buy into it, including the franchisees. A lot of them had a lot of reservations or concerns about it. But like I said,
do you feel you've crossed the hump with that challenge?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in a relatively short period of time, nonetheless. Okay, right on. Did you end up losing any staff due to the change?
Nope.
Right.
We almost might have lost a couple, but it's to be expected. Like I said, and then it goes back to just talking on a nightly basis with a few of the people. Try to stay positive about it, and once it becomes like the old menu was, second nature, routine. It's mainly up to you now. It's selling side items and lobster tails. And
change can throw any organization for a loop.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're talking like that much material in every single textbook I've ever read about change, agents of change, how leaderships deal with change, the mind frame of keeping positive, the buy-in of the people that have to change. All right, well, I mean, so that's a challenge in itself, but it sounds like you nailed it. I think I asked a vague kind of question like this. The biggest issue you face as a manager, not on a day-to-day, but like one of the biggest just issues you have, would it be more of the? You see, issue is just so vague.
Right. I would say it is vague, so it is a combination of things.
Would you think that like some of the biggest challenges you've ran into, were they more personnel related? Were they more organizational, like behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Depends on what's going on.
All right, fair enough. We can leave it at that. So one of the issues, one of the big issues that you have, according to that particular question, would be how liquid and how dynamic the restaurant business is. So ultimately, while you have all these different obstacles and curveballs that maybe pop up once and then go away and you'll never see again, it's kind of, you got to stay on your toes and be able to balance and juggle it all.
Right. It's like I said, it depends on what's going on. There was a time where I didn't have an AM. I lost my AM. That's a big responsibility on me to.
So not only did you have your normal, pushing the limits of how much you can do, but then you had to do it 2 men's worth of that by yourself.
Right.
I think that would qualify as one of the biggest issues, right?
Right.
All right. You don't have high turnover amongst your staff. I mean, restaurants have notoriously high turnover, and you have folks that work for years on end. Now, is training a new employee time-consuming? Do you consider it a challenge? And does it interfere with your daily flow and make your workload feel heavier? how much of an impact is training?
Training is time consuming at this restaurant, just because there's so much to go over. It's not like your typical restaurant. You know, we're dealing with hot pots, uncooked meat, numerous company policies locally and, you know, franchise-wise. We implemented a lot of new things, gluten-free menus. We have a service that we provide, Perfect Night Out, that has 8 different, you know, stages and different steps in each stage. The server menu or training manual is like 280-something pages, and you know, and it keeps growing. The bigger the franchises, the more we get, the bigger the workload and the training materials. But it does affect my day-to-day operations. I have to take part out of my day to train, and then it depends on the individual too. Some take information and retain it. Some you have to just pound it into their head 15 times. You know, some learn more by writing it down. Some learn more by visual aid. You know, I'm a visual aid type guy, hands-on. I can learn a little bit from text and this and that, but I like to put the two hand in hand, which we try to do while we're in training. We do book work in the day, and we have follow shifts at the night where they can kind of, you know, put the two together.
I feel like I have gotten everything I need from this, and maybe even a little more, to be honest. And I mean, that's just for the assignment. Past that window into your mind and your insight is valuable. Past just school, I can appreciate a lot of what you're saying, and what's the word I'm looking for? Respect.
Respect.
I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
You bust your ass. You have a successful store. You have employees that enjoy working here. That you don't have turnover. I mean, there's so much. I can really appreciate what you do. And I feel like I just want to ask one final question, just for the hell of it, just to have a final question here.
Do I want to open my own restaurant? Yeah, one day.
So you would open a melting pot restaurant?
I would.
Okay. So that answers a couple of these other questions here. So you have a good enough feeling towards the way corporate deals with stuff,
mm-hmm.
right? Their organizational structure is obviously not horrible to the point where, like, you wouldn't ever want to have anything to do with them, and you wouldn't put your own time and money into it.
Right.
Okay. Do you ever resent the way the corporate entity treats the franchises?
From everything over the years that I've witnessed and come to collect, you know, the relationship between the franchisees and the corporate office and people they deal with, they're all here for the same reason. Everybody wants to make money and to help each other out. And, you know, it's not until some of these franchisees that have closed cross the line, you know, they're buying their food from Kroger, they're not ordering the correct lanes, they're trying to run a restaurant with the Melting Pot name that's not the Melting Pot, you know. And, you know, and I feel like there are people that they jump into the restaurant with no restaurant experience because they have a business degree and they got a little bit of money in the bank and they don't know what the hell they're getting into.
All right, and I've been paraphrasing a lot. I'm going to do it. So you respect the organization of the Melting Pot as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any huge beefs or issues with the way they run their business,
right,
to the point where you would want to work with them in the future and own your own restaurant. Says a lot right there. All right. Well, I mean, let's wrap it up, man. I got it all, and I hope you get to own your own successful.
I got my location picked out. If I ever do.
Keep that a secret, man. You don't want to give that away. All right, Dustin. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.